Hey guys, welcome to Wetumpka, Alabama. Right down the street, about an hour from where I grew up on Lake Martin. We've got Lake Jordan on the Coosa. We got the Alabama River. We got some great spotted bass fishing and some big largemouth too. Well, welcome to my bass cave. I call it the Birdhouse. Here we are, the Birdhouse. It's 52 by 30. I was talking to Russ Lane when I finally found out I was gonna, build a building. For almost 10 years during my fishing career, I worked out of two little tiny storage buildings and a little metal carport. I'm sure you've seen all of those. And so every tournament I have to dig everything out, organize, pile it all back in. So this was really nice to have a place I could come down, get out of the weather, and have my stuff somewhat organized. It's usually a organized chaos in here, I call it, but it's been really cool. We actually built it on an old tennis court and used the old tennis court for the driveway, and you'll see pieces and parts of the old tennis court as we go around, but it's stick built, stick frame, so I have the option, I could add rooms later on. You can see the walls are still unfinished, so it's kind of like the old Johnny Cash song, one piece at a time. That's the way this building's been for me. So I've just done little things as I go, as I needed. As you come in, I take a left. I'm a tinkerer. I'm always, playing with different baits, plastics, hard baits, modifying, going to the pool, testing them out. So, I bought a little microwave. I can melt, small things of soft plastic, usually making little modifications or playing with molds, things like that. There's a bait fuel injector right there, playing with injecting some plastics. Soldering tools good, heating up a little bait, mess with appendages, same thing with the lighters. This little thing of water right here, I can throw it in the microwave, heat it up, get it pretty much to boiling. If I've got a bait that I really like, this kind of over time, how they get hot and settle in a package and get kind of deformed, don't work right, I can heat them up, heat this water up and take it and swish it around in there and lay it out on a paper towel, it'll be good as new. So good way to revive a bait right there too. I got to give a shout out to my friend Jason Shockley. He's a great painter. He paints hard baits. He did a lot of my baits over the years. A lot of them in tournaments, made a lot of money with baits that Jason painted for me over the years, Shocks baits. And so he's a good friend too. And Jason was kind enough to kind of get me started. I call him Sensei. I'm a terrible artist, but I can paint a bait good enough for a fish to bite. And it's a fun little thing to do for me. So right here I've got a sandblaster. This is actually an old aquarium light. There's a light inside, but if you put it overhead, you can see down in there to work on the bait. So the bait goes inside this cabinet right here. Sort of see that sand in there. It's kind of a dusty mess. Put the bait in there, close this up. Then we'll crank up the air compressor, run that pressure up to, probably about 100 PSI, maybe even more sometimes. And once we get that done, gotta clean them all up really good, get all that dust off, wipe them down. Don't want any dust on there, so that paint will stick really good. Sometimes I get a wild hair and I want a certain bait and a certain color that I know I can paint, and I go through the whole process. And I did that with this one right here. Here's a finished bait right here. So this is actually probably one of the best ones I ever did, just because of the way it all went down. So I had this idea. It was in the middle of the summer. I was catching them on a popper, but everything was opaque. I didn't have a good translucent, color that looked like a bluegill, and I knew that's what those fish were eating. So I got one that had a clear body once I blasted it off, and I spent probably, because I'm not a good artist, I probably spent half a day, painting this bait and got all the different shades just like I liked it. And after it dried, like 2 days later, I took it to the lake, the same place where I knew these fish were, and tried it out. And I caught 3 4-pounders in the middle of August in Alabama heat on this bait right here. And unfortunately, the reason I got it in my hand, it's not in a box, is the fourth one had it so far down that he cracked it, and the bait started to sink on me. So I was excited that I had a color that they really liked, and I had found the magic color, but I was kind of torn up because I spent half a day on this bait and the fish just crushed it and I'm watching it sink. So now it's just a pretty souvenir, but a lot of different shades in that bait. You look at it, just immediately look at it, it only looks like maybe a couple of colors, and you look really close and you start seeing those other shades and patterns pop and things like that. So When we keep rolling along here, these are my big garage doors right here. So I can open them inside or I can open them from the truck. This is an 18-foot door. So, I mentioned earlier that when we bought this place, it was a big tennis court. So this building is set right in the middle of an old tennis court. When we looked at it, all I saw was all that asphalt that I didn't have to pour. But we had to make some modifications, so we had to tear down a little brick wall so we could put a gate in to be able to come. There was all grass behind that. And my brother-in-law came and poured concrete and built me a ramp basically coming down here on the tennis court for the boat and the truck. Once that dried, I could finally get the boat and the truck down here to see if I could make this turn. No building, nothing, it was just an open tennis court at that point. We did take the net down. And I made the loop and I figured out exactly where my tire tracks came through making the loop. And it was just enough to do 2 doors, which was awesome. Because when I come in, I can open this door and I can pull in, shut the door behind me. It was time to go out in the morning, I open that door and I head right out and make that loop. And it's just really nice. Like if I've been in a tournament, we've been grinding all week, make a long drive home, sometimes 10, 12, 17 hours. And you roll in, I roll up these doors, I pull in here, pull the whole truck and boat in, shut the doors behind me, and I walk to the house and I worry about the rest later on. So it's just really nice to be able to do that. Like I mentioned, for so many years I had the 2 little storage building and the carport, and it wasn't always that easy. So it's nice to be at a point to have those 2 doors like that. Cycle over into here. This is where I spend most of my time when I'm in here tinkering with tackle, really. First one I built wasn't very sturdy, and I realized I put so much stuff on it all the time, and I realized I could bring it out a little further than I thought, so I could make the turn with the truck and not hit it. Here's some baits, that I did with the dye stuff. I was trying to get a dark color in this bait, and the darkest thing I had was kind of a smoke color. This is a big grub from Bait Fuel. And so I got, playing with some different dyes and things like that, and basically got a, real dark, almost black main body with a blue tail, something using dirty water, just, something that I could try, kind of a, post-spawn deal right there. So here's some more baits that I painted. Another bait that I painted that I think a 5-pounder cracked that one. And so caught several on it, but it's retired now because it started taking on a little water. Here's some little jigs that I made. These little finesse jigs right here. So a little 1/4 ounce with a little net bait fuel crawl trailer that just came out. And this is how I store my rods. I got a pile of rods. We got so many different places. You got, everything from the heavier stuff all the way down to the lighter stuff. And I don't know how everybody else does it. When I got in the building, I was trying to figure out how to get these off the floor where they were easy to see what I had to choose from and grab something quick, even if it was the bait or just a particular rod and reel where I could, see what I've got, grab something and add it, and then take what I didn't need out of the boat, hang it back up. So this is where I landed. It works great. This is PVC. I think that's probably 1.25 PVC. So each one of those is a little section that I cut and had to drill these holes so that you can put the screws on the back of the PVC and hit that 2x4 frame on the back. So each one of these is a section of PVC. It works great. So another, heavy duty shelf right here because I got a lot of boxes of plastics. So moving on down right here, if we go any further, we get into yard work. And we're talking fishing, so we're gonna skip right across the boat over to this corner. All right, so right after we finished the building, one of the ideas I wanted to do all pegboard. I'm still trying to decide if I'm gonna finish out the building in pegboard. But we did at least get these sections up thanks to a couple of good friends of mine came and helped set everything up. This sign right here, I do want to talk about that. When I was a little bitty kid, my granddad had a lake up in Sterrett, Alabama. Little private pond. We'd go up there 4th of July, Christmases, things like that. Especially would go in the summer, and I loved catching bass out of my granddad's pond. So when he passed away, of all the things that he had that I really asked my parents about if he still had this sign because it hung over his carport as you came into his lake house. So he called it Lake Solitude. So took that sign, put a little polyurethane on it, finished it up so it wouldn't rot because it has been around a long time. Yeah, so this is pretty much, you know, a lot of different assortment net baits. This is just sort of the random wall, a little bit of everything, like discontinued stuff, or you know, stuff for whatever reason I can't let go, or some newer stuff. Like these crankbaits are pretty old, still, you know, good baits. Here's one in particular, guys that know will recognize it. That bait, I guess, is probably about 30 years old Smithwick Rogue, and one of the reasons that I got into painting. And so, you know, get on eBay and search those guys down, and that was still in the box, ready to go. So love that bait, had a great action, caught a lot of big fish on that bait. So there's two right there. And hopefully I don't have to dig into those boxes anytime soon, because I got a bunch more stored away. But that's the Birdhouse. This is my bass cave. Thanks for coming to Wetumpka, Alabama. Enjoyed showing you guys around, and looking forward to maybe coming back one day. We're gonna make some new additions and spruce it up even more.